Once upon a time, there was a wealthy man named Obinna in Umuoji. His riches were known far and wide, thanks to his father's successful palm oil and kola nut trade. From a young age, Obinna was taught that he was special, that his wealth made him better than others. Obinna grew up in the finest clothes, eating the richest foods, and being treated like a king. By the time he reached adulthood, he was known across the village as Obinna the Rich. But wealth, though grand, has its price. The people whispered behind his back, calling him arrogant and selfish. They warned their daughters to stay away, for Obinna only thought of himself and looked down on everyone else. Boys his age will play football games at the community center. Even sons of high-profile people in the community would sit at palm wine joints to have palm wine and play games or even crack jokes. This was not the case with Obinna. He has no good manners whatsoever towards anyone, and for this reason no woman in the community wants to ever talk to him. Sometimes he would make advances to a group of girls heading to the river, and not even one of them will utter a reply or speak to him. His pride left him friendless, though he would never admit it. And by the time he reached his late 40s, he was still unmarried, which was unusual in their culture. It wasn't that Obinna didn't want a wife. He wanted one who was worthy of his riches. Many women crossed his path, but he always found something to criticize, thinking that none were good enough for him. At a time, it was said that he had started going after other men's wives in the community, telling the women that he is more richer and successful than their husbands, and for that reason they should be with him. The elders of the village shook their heads at Obinna's behavior. A man without love, they would say, is like a river without water, empty and hollow. One day, Chief Okafor, a respected elder, called Obinna to his hut. "Obinna," he began, "your wealth will not keep you company in your old age. A man needs more than riches. He needs love and respect." But Obinna laughed, brushing off Chief Okafor's words. "What do I need with love?" He scoffed. "I have all the wealth I could want. Love is for those who cannot buy happiness." Days turned into months, and Obinna's life remained the same. He flaunted his riches, but his heart grew colder. His mansion felt large and empty, but he ignored the loneliness that crept in. Then, one Harmattan season, something strange began to happen. His beloved father, Chief Nwosu, fell gravely ill, and Obinna found himself at a loss. The wealth he treasured so much could not heal his father. As his father's condition worsened, Chief Nwosu called Obinna to his bedside. His voice was weak, but his words were strong. "My son," he said, "life is not measured by riches. A man must be loved, or he has nothing." For the first time, Obinna felt the weight of his father's words. His wealth felt insignificant in that moment, but he pushed those thoughts away, telling himself he would be fine on his own. After his father passed, Obinna found himself consumed by a strange emptiness. He felt as if his life, once so full, was now hollow and purposeless. One day, as he wandered through the village, he noticed a woman he had never seen before. She was carrying a basket of yams and moving with a quiet dignity that caught his eye. Her name was Amara, a newcomer to the village. She had no wealth, no fine clothes, but her presence was calm and strong, like a river that flowed steadily. Intrigued, Obinna approached her, attempting his usual charm. "Good day," he said with a confident smile. "I am Obinna, son of Chief Nwosu. Perhaps you have heard of me?" Amara looked at him calmly, barely glancing at his fine clothes and jewelry. "Good day, Obinna," she replied, uninterested. "I am Amara, daughter of no one important." Obinna was taken aback. He was used to such cool response, especially from women, but instead of feeling insulted, he continued. "Surely you know of my wealth," he said, hoping to impress her. "I have more riches than anyone in this village. Perhaps you would like to visit my mansion?" Amara raised an eyebrow, a slight smile on her lips. "Wealth is fine," she said, "but it does not make the man. A heart empty of love is like a house with no walls, vulnerable and cold." Her words struck Obinna like a blow. No one had ever spoken to him that way. He found himself speechless, watching as Amara walked away. leaving him alone with his thoughts. Over the next few days, Obinna could not stop thinking about Amara's words. He found himself returning to the village market, hoping to see her again. When he finally saw her, he tried a different approach. "Amara," he said softly, "I would like to know more about you. Where do you come from?" Amara looked at him with a hint of amusement. "I am from a village far from here," she replied, "but I came here seeking peace and a place to call home." Obinna wanted to ask her more, but she quickly turned away, leaving him standing alone once more. The villagers began to notice his interest and murmured among themselves. Determined to win her favor, Obinna started visiting the market more often, sometimes offering to help carry heavy baskets or fetch water for the women. The villagers were surprised to see this side of him. Could it be that Obinna the Proud is changing? They whispered. Perhaps the stranger is softening his heart. Days turned into weeks, and Obinna continued his efforts. He began to listen to the elders' stories and visit palm wine joints at sunset. Slowly, the villagers began to accept him. They no longer looked at him with resentment, but with curiosity. And with each passing day, Obinna felt a new warmth growing in his heart. One evening, he gathered the courage to approach Amara once more. "Amara," he said, "I know I have been proud, but I wish to change. I feel lost." Amara looked at him, her gaze gentle. "Change does not come easily, Obinna. A heart hardened by pride must be softened by patience and humility." Her words resonated deeply with him, and Obinna felt a strange mixture of shame and hope. He realized that Amara had seen through him from the start. From that day on, he began to show kindness to others, not for Amara's approval, but for his own growth. He began to enjoy helping the villagers, finding satisfaction in their smiles. He rebuilt the community hall, which had been in disrepair for years, and funded the education of orphans who could not afford school fees. The villagers were touched by his generosity, and they began to call him Obinna the Changed. The title filled him with pride, but not the arrogance he once had. Despite his transformation, Amara kept her distance. She watched him carefully, as if waiting to see if this change was genuine. Did not mind. He was willing to prove himself, even if it took years. He knew now that Amara was unlike anyone he had ever met. One afternoon, as he was working in the market, he noticed a storm approaching. The skies darkened, and the villagers hurried to find shelter. Amara was struggling to carry a heavy basket of yams, and without hesitation, Obinna rushed to her side, offering to help. She looked at him, surprised by his sincerity. "Thank you, Obinna," she said softly. "You have become kinder than I imagined." Her words filled him with joy, and for the first time, he felt truly happy, not because of his wealth, but because of her acceptance. They took shelter together under a thatched roof, watching the rain pour down. In that quiet moment, Obinna felt a warmth in his heart that he had never known. He turned to Amara and spoke from his soul. "Amara," he said, "I want you to know that I have changed, and it is because of you." She listened, her eyes softening. "Obinna, a true change comes from within, not for anyone else. You must be this man, with or without me." Her words gave him pause, but he understood. He nodded, silently promising himself that he would continue to be the man he had become. Over the next few months, their bond grew stronger. They spent time together, laughing, sharing stories, and learning about each other. The villagers noticed their closeness and began to celebrate, for they had always hoped to see Obinna find a love that would ground him. One day, Obinna decided to visit Amara's small hut. He brought a gift, a kola nut, which in Igbo culture was a symbol of unity and respect. "Amara," he said, presenting her with the kola nut, "I wish to offer you my love, my respect, and my heart." She accepted the gift, her smile bright and warm. "Obinna," she said, "you have shown me that true wealth is found in kindness and humility." They shared a simple meal, and Obinna felt as though he was richer than he had ever been. He realized that love was the treasure he had sought all along. When he asked her to be his wife, she accepted, and the villagers rejoiced. They had witnessed a transformation they never thought possible. On the day of their wedding, The entire village gathered by the river to celebrate. It was a simple ceremony, but the joy in the air was vibrant, alive with laughter, music, and blessings from the elders. Obinna wore a humble outfit, a stark contrast to the rich attire he used to flaunt. But today, he felt like the wealthiest man in the world, standing beside Amara, the woman who had shown him the meaning of true wealth. As they exchanged their vows, the river sparkled in the sunlight, a witness to the love that had grown in Obinna's heart. The villagers, who once whispered behind his back, now chanted his name in celebration. After the ceremony, Amara and Obinna shared their first dance under the shade of a great baobab tree. The crowd cheered as they danced, and Obinna's heart was full, overflowing with gratitude and love. Guests kept coming from all neighboring villages. Even towards the end of the ceremony, people wanted to see who the wealthy Obinna was getting married to. The elders took turns giving their blessings, with Chief Okafor reminding Obinna of his late father's words. "He would be proud, Obinna," Chief Okafor said. "You have found the heart of a true man." That night, as the festivities continued, Obinna looked around at his people. He realized that his life was now truly full, not because of his riches, but because of the love and respect he had earned. Later that night, a guest from one of the neighboring villages who attended the wedding had spotted the new bride, and he knew Amara from her village. With so much surprise, he said, "I know her." He whispered to a friend in shock. "She is married to another man with a child," he continues. This time, his words were loud enough to be heard by someone else. What the young man said had captured the attention of few people. Just before the wedding ended, the news had spread. This news, however, got to Obinna. With so much shock and disbelief, he ran out losing his mind, and breathing so heavily, he broke down in tears. How could this be? How could this be? He asked himself angrily, crying. If you would like to see the part 2 of this story, kindly comment part 2. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thanks. See you soon on another episode.